spaceship crashing through the air. Devil's in the details, leopards in your hair. Oh no, I can see the future. Take another picture, drop it on your tongue. Let your body burn down, breathe it in your lungs. Oh no, take me to your leader. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my prey is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Take it to the red line, bring it with the force. Bury deep in your mind, soldier in the war. Oh no, you can run, but you can't hide. Watching, waiting, my prey is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Fame is in the front seat, trouble with the curb. Love is in the back seat, singing like a bird. Oh no, take me to the good life. Stranger on the mountain, hanging on your words. Walking in a nightmare, everything is blurred. Oh no, take me to the good times. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my prey is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Robbers in the spaceship, crashing through the air. Devil's in the details, leopards in your hair. Oh no, I can see the future. Take another picture, drop it on your tongue. Let your body burn down, breathe it in your lungs. Oh no, take me to your leader. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my prey is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Take it to the red line, bring it with the force. Bury deep in your mind, soldier in the war. Oh no, you can run, but you can't hide. trouble with the curb. Always in the backseat singing like a bird. Oh no, take me to the good life. Stranger on the mountain, hanging on your words. Walking in a nightmare, everything is blurred. Oh no, take me to the good times. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my play is playing. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Robbers in the spaceship, crashing through the air. Devils in the details, lappers in your hair. Oh no, I can see the future. Take another picture, drop it on your tongue. Let your body burn down, breathe it in your lungs. Oh no, take me to your leader. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my play is playing. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Take it to the red line, bring it with the force. Bury deep in your mind, soldier in the war. Oh no, you can run, but you can't hide. Watching, waiting, my play is playing. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Fame is in the front seat, trouble with the curb. Always in the backseat, singing like a bird. Oh no, take me to the good life. Stranger on the mountain, hanging on your words. Walking in a nightmare, everything is blurred. Oh no, take me to the good times. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my play is playing. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Robbers in the spaceship, crashing through the air. Devils in the details, lappers in your hair. Oh no, I can see the future. Take another picture, drop it on your tongue. Let your body burn down, breathe it in your lungs. Oh no, take me to your leader. Don't to the red line, bring you with the force. Buried deep in your mind, soldier in the war. Oh no, you can run, but you can't hide. Watching, waiting, my play is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Fame is in the front seat, trouble with the curb. Love is in the back seat, singing like a bird. Oh no, take me to the good life. Stranger on the mountain, hanging on your words. Walking in a nightmare, everything is blurred. Oh no, take me to the good times. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my play is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100. The hunter, the hunted. Love is in the spaceship, crashing through the air. Devil's in the details, lap is in your hair. Oh no, I can see the future. Take another picture, drop it on your tongue. Let your body burn down, breathe it in your lungs. Oh no, take me to your leader. Don't forget what you told me. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching, waiting, my play is praying. There's no escaping. My blood's pumping. I go 100.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the fourth penny stock market Sunday stream. We, as always, have got a lot to cover in the stream. So I'm going to jump right into the action with a short introduction of what we have, what we're going to go through today and what to expect from this stream today. So if you're new to the stream, please consider following, subscribing, liking, all that good stuff, right? I work pretty hard on giving great information, giving good content in these streams, my videos and tutorials and things. So, I give full disclosure on my own trades, giving as much value as I possibly can. So obviously teach you guys how to make money in the stock market. We've got a multi-stream going on today. So I'm streaming to Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer because I want to see where I get the best numbers, right? Where I get the best engagement from to potentially just do maybe one stream to one single platform down the road. But we'll wait and see, right? We'll see how that pans out. Also, I have a new Discord community for people to go and join. So if you want to come over and join us, there's loads of benefits with the premium and the premium plus access, such as premium chats, voice chats, watch lists every single day, and also a live stream of the stocks to trade screener. So you will be able to see live every single day, every single trading day, what stocks are moving in the pre-market and throughout the day in real time, along with a community of traders that are all on the same agenda of making money alongside you, right? So you can share news catalysts in the chat, stock drivers, talk about price action with like-minded people that all want to make money just as you want to make money and better themselves, right? So there's tons and tons of benefits to join in the Discord. So what I'll do is I'll pop a link actually into the chat. If I pop a link into the chat, you guys can obviously follow that. So I'll do that right now. So there you go. I popped that's gone over to all the live streams. So if you guys actually follow that link, it'll take you directly to the Discord, and then obviously you'll be accepted. You can join and get integrated with everybody else and get accustomed, right? So the first thing I want to do in this live stream is cover some mindset basics. Okay, I want to go over some mindset stuff as I normally do. I want to keep that kind of structure to the stream and go over some mindset training and how to look at stocks and not overcomplicating the experience. I've also got on a wired connection. You guys may have noticed that last week I did not do a stream, and then the week previous to that, the stream kept cutting out and it was a nightmare, right? So now I'm on a wired connection. It should be more stable and that won't happen. Hopefully, hopefully. So yeah, let's go over some mindset training today. So just 1 second. Okay, there I am. So I'm going to use an analogy to break down the lesson that I want to give you guys. And the lesson is not to overcomplicate your trading experience, which seems counterintuitive, right? With all the pieces of information that's out there contradicting one another. But this is the way I want you to think of your trading experience and not overcomplicating it. Let me just move myself above. I want you to think of, imagine yourself in an art gallery, right? You're looking at a painting. The painting is of a monk, as you can see right there on the screen. The monk is looking over a mountain range. You study the small nuances of the painting, the brush strokes, the contrasting colors from the sky to the rich green trees and the foliage in the foreground and the close ground and whatnot. You study the monk standing there looking over the mountain range, and you try to put yourself in the position to better understand his thoughts, his emotions, and put yourself in the position of the monk, right? Now imagine that somebody walks up to you as you're studying the brushstrokes of this painting and the small nuances, and they ask you one question. They say, "What do you see in this painting?" And of course, then you step back, you look at the painting as a whole, and you say to this person, you say, well, I see a lone monk enjoying the glory of nature. The monk maybe signifies peace and tranquility in your mind amongst the chaos of nature, almost like a yin and a yang. To which the person replies to you and says, "No, you fucking moron. What do you actually see?" And all of a sudden, the glass breaks, right? The glass shatters, and then you just see the painting for what it is. So all of a sudden, now you just realize that you just see a monk looking at a mountain range. So now it's changing your perspective, and you're not trying to read too far into it. You're not trying to overcomplicate the experience. You're just seeing what is actually there in front of you. Point being, you can spend all the time in the world over processing, over analyzing what you think you see, okay, and then find a deeper understanding in the markets, when actually all you have to do is keep it simple and just look at what's in front of you. So, I mean, you can find tons of guides out there on YouTube, on the internet, that will overcomplicate it and tell you to have, say, 10 different indicators, and then trying to find a trend between simple moving averages, 14-day and 21-day moving average, and then you've got the max, the 20 and the 50 and the 200 moving averages, and then trying to find the divergence and the convergence of those averages. Then you've got the price moving action, and you're trying to find a trend between all these different. It's just chaos, right? Madness. So keep the experience simple. Don't overcomplicate it. So going into what this sort of stream is going to be centered around, I have been sort of holding off on this lesson for a while somewhat, just because of the severity, the learning curve that comes with this lesson. And it's the most important lesson to date for sure, right? This stream is going to be kind of centered around technical analysis and how to paint a picture about a stock. And remember that technical analysis allows us to look deeper into what a stock has to tell us, right? To read into the story that it's trying to tell us. We just have to have the knowledge and the experience to be able to read into the lesson, read into the story the stock's trying to tell us. Because every single stock out there is trying to tell us something, but you're just going to have the skill to be able to listen to that message and depict it, right? Decipher what's going on. So I'll use real world examples to try and explain that everything that I feel that you guys need from a beginner's perspective to even somewhat an experienced trader with scars from the market from doing some of the rounds, right? Things to know about traders is that we love triangles, both ascending and descending, which we will dive more into in detail as we get into the stream. It helps confirm biases to be in on a trade or not. And it's a great way to set risk points, a great way to manage losses effectively. I absolutely use trends, I use channels, I use different channel lines. Got a comment there. Channel lines to work out how a stock is going in my favor or not. With every single trade I am in, whether the stock chart is going into a reversal on me or setting a trend change or a choke point, I'm using trend lines. I'm using different lines, different channels to try and give me an indication of how the stock is reacting and whether I should be long or short, whether I should even take a position. I'm also going to go over some of the trades that I could not go over in the previous stream because obviously with it cutting out. So I'm going to go over some of my profits and my losses before we get into the technical analysis lessons. So there is so much more that you can read into triangles to determine the price action, the behavior, and this is what we're going to talk about today. So the first lesson I'm going to go into is one of my trades that I made with my $428 profit. Okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go over this in the previous stream because it kept cutting out, right? So I had that connection issue because I wasn't on a wired connection like I am now. So with this, you should now start to see patterns emerge if you guys have been in the previous streams up to this one. You should probably see a pattern of how I approach the stocks when I'm looking for a play. I'm playing into my strengths, right? I'm trying to put the odds on my side, which is what trading is, right? I'm trying to put the odds on my side as much as possible so I can have more wins than I can have losses. And DFFN was no exception to this. I'm looking for any pre-market price action based on some kind of catalyst for it being up or down so much on based on my decision making process around that. So if it has a news catalyst and the price action is following that news catalyst in some way, so news comes out, whether it's good news on earnings or something like that, and the price action goes up into the positive and it has a gap up in the pre-market, I can base my bias, my decisions around that and work out how I'm going to tackle that stock, whether I should be in, whether it's too overextended, whether I feel like it's going to come back down, or anything of that in between, right? So I'm a technical trader by heart, and I'm a long bias trader as well. I'm not very comfortable at taking short positions, and this is what you have to work out. And this is something you're going to work out as you're getting in on trades, and as you build up more experience, you build up your foundations of trading over the time, you'll work out what you're good at, and what you're bad at, and then you just need to double down on what you are good at. So I will take short positions in the pre-market if the stock is trying to time me to do so, which is how I actually made my money on this trade with DFFN. Sometimes I will hold a pre-market position into the open, but only if it is close enough to the open to hold the volume and bring liquidity into the play. I want the bid and the ask to be tight together. I don't want to have a large spread and have the stock playing favorably into any support and resistance that I have charted up. The stock has to have a favorable float and the market cap, and I base my risk off a position size. So basically, if the stock is further away from my support and my risk level, I'll take a smaller position, and if it comes into weakness, then I will average my position down, taking positions into that weakness, and then obviously pay myself into the bounce. Again, this is a lot to go over, but it's the same thought process, it's the same decision process, and these patterns play out time and time again. So from that, we study the chart action to determine how we want to play and how the play is going to pan out. So I'm going to play a short video on my DFFN play, so you guys can obviously see how I tackled it and understand my thought process behind that, and then obviously we'll elaborate and we'll go into more detail afterwards. So let's walk you through the trade today, okay? Pre-market, another low float stock. As I always say to you guys, I like playing low float stocks, low market cap, and high volatility. Now, this stock spiked pre-market, as you can see on this green candle, on the 50-minute candles. Now, ordinarily, I would not trade this, simply because of the news catalyst that came out. I don't like trading FDA approvals on the news, but however, it is in the hot sector. It is a health care biotech on the COVID-19 news, so I made an exception in this case because it was such a huge spike, and looking back over the previous 6-month chart, it was way overextended in its highest. So being as it was so overextended in such a short amount of time, my play on this was a short sell. So to make money on the way coming down, I made $300 or just over $300 on this in about 10 minutes. And so I've actually got my order down here, okay? So I bought initially 1,700 shares at 0.85 cents a share, okay? That's a position size of $1,445. I sold those shares, all 1,700, my full position, at 0.66, so 66 cents a share, and that position size was 1,125. My profit was $323 on this trade in about 10 minutes. So when it came down from its high is when I took my position, risking it off the high of day. I risked it off the 8.7 mark. So I knew that if it came back up and beat this point, I'd have took a loss. I'd have got out my position. But the fact it started to crack and crack and crack, and then we see on the next candle it opened up around the 7.5 mark and continued to crack, and then it came down to this point, and then it bounced. When I saw the bounce, I knew I was looking for a way out of this play, and luckily I got out at 6.6 because it came up to around the 7 mark and it held around this point, as you can see, for quite a while. So I timed this very, very well and took a $323 profit. Now, I don't say this to brag. I don't say this to gloat. I say this because I want it to motivate you guys. I want you to see just how easy it is in this market right now to make this money. We're 6 minutes out from the market open right now. I'm not going to take any positions on this stock particularly, obviously, because the play has already played out on this. But I am watching my screeners. I am watching the other stocks. I am seeing what other stocks are in play, what other positions I can take. But I'm going to wait until 15 minutes of the market open to see what the positions. But I just wanted to show you this to try and motivate you. And to try and get you guys to come and join my Sunday Twitch live stream, where we break down these plays. I break down this play. I'm going to break down this play, and this play that you see right here is very, very similar to the last two plays that we went over in the previous live stream. So if you haven't seen that, go and check out Twitch. It's very, very similar to CPAH, and there was another one that I was trading as well. I can't think what the ticker name is on that one, but it's very, very similar. I think it was MDGS, if I'm not mistaken, last week. Those two stocks, they spiked tremendously pre-market, and then I got in on the short side when they came down. So there you go, guys. Very, very simple, very, very easy if you know how, but if you don't know how, obviously it's like rocket science, but I can teach you. So at the market open, I got a bit cheeky. The day isn't over for me, so I took another position. I thought, well, it's crashing at the open. I'll get in on the bounce, and I'll take a small profit into the bounce. So here's my order position. I took 2,200 shares at 57 cents a share. It's position size of $1,254. I sold the full position, 2,200 shares, at 61 shares. So that's a position size of 1,259. That's an extra $105 profit on top of the $300 that I only made in pre-market. Again, this isn't to gloat, guys, it's to show you just how freaking easy this is if you're motivated and you want to learn. Okay, so just to elaborate on some of the points in there, you may have heard me say in the video that I don't like trading FDA approvals. Reason being is I don't like to base decisions on a governing body's actions. If a sketchy biotech has a drug in phase 1 of the FDA approval and the stock price is already spiking because people are falling in love with the products, I'm not interested in that kind of speculation. These companies are already scummy, they're already crappy, they're already shit companies, committing fraud every single day. Adding more speculation into the mix just isn't for me, right? It gives you more to think about, just more headache than it's worth. However, this stock was so overextended over its highs, and it was in the hot sector. In my opinion, the play was too obvious not to be in on. I accept the risks, though if the stock had gone against me, I would have ate the loss. So had this been a midday play into the close, I would have passed. I wouldn't have touched it, right? I would not have played that. But because it was in the pre-market going into the open, it was kind of dignified in that sense. When the market opened, I played into my strength of being a long biased trader. Taking a small position into the weakness and selling into the small amount of strength that we had on the candle, but the chart continued to fade pretty much through the entire day. A short seller's dream, right? But again, I'm not comfortable being a short seller on these low float stocks. As you guys may have seen in the previous stream, when I took a loss on CREX, you can see that these stocks can spike against you so quickly. Because CREX, when I was in a position, when I was short, it went against me so quick, I didn't have an opportunity to get out of the stock. Right? It went up so quick, so dramatically that when I got out, I had to eat a big loss because it spiked so quickly, instantaneously. So in conclusion, with short selling, I look for a huge gain in a very short amount of time in the pre-market on news, waiting for the weakness, risking my position off the high of that candle, like in previous trades that I demonstrated in a previous stream. So the next lesson I'm going to move into is the NXTD short, right? Where I took a $97 profit. Small amount of profit, but again, it's just a lesson that's in there, right? It's a lesson. So again, I hope you guys are seeing the pattern here as I move into the next video lesson and teach you. And making the essential connections. These strategies, they show up time and time again. These plays will show up all the time, and you will always be able to capitalize on them. So this is just my strategy, and you'll no doubt have your own little nuances and your own little personalized ways on these plays. So I found NXTD on the scanner as it spiked, and immediately I was shocked to see a stock with no news and no SEC filings to be up in the pre-market, beating all 52-week resistance. To to this day, I have no idea why the stock price was pumped up so high like that and so far into the pre-market action. Even the bid and the ask spread was within 1 cent a share within times. It was a no-brainer that this stock was on the short side because it had no catalyst driving the price action for a long bias play. So in my mind and in a lot of people's minds out there, it was going to come down. So there was no way that this stock was going to hold 52-week highs when the market opened, and the big volume would come in because people would obviously be able to trade that couldn't trade pre-market. And we have a low float stock. So as always, I took my profits way too early on this play, but I'll do that time and time again because I want to show you guys just how much meat is left on the bone. I'd rather trade like I'm handling a contact lens, that I'm going to put contact lenses in my eyes after handling hot peppers than see profits turn into a disaster. Maybe you're different. Maybe your timing is miles better than mine, and maybe you have the guts to see how these plays pan out. I'm not that good of a trader. I like to take my money when the markets are giving it to me, okay? So I'll play a short video now, and it'll be another video lesson for you guys to see how I tackled this play and what my mindset was behind it. So another quick video lesson for you guys. I really need to catch these, and record them as I'm taking the trades, but they happen so quick. It's just unreal. Did nothing pre-market. We got a few SEC filings, but it spiked. It spiked out of nowhere. And so, this kind of play has been doing very well in the pre-markets. As you guys have seen, you need to be seeing the patterns. They're playing out every single time pretty much the same. Spiked up in pre-market. I timed a sell position on the short side near its high, and then sold into the recoil as we come down into weakness. It has popped up a few more times, and I have considered taking more positions as it starts to recoil back down. But what's the point? I've took my profits. I made a quick $65 profit in a space of like literally 5 to 10 seconds as it was going up. I was a bit nervous because of the fact that it is low float, but I have been trading this way in the pre-market on low float stocks, and it hasn't really been turning against me because it hasn't got the liquidity on the volume. If this was at the market open and we had all the traders that could trade this is only limited to people that can trade pre-market and post-market. So the volume traded isn't extremely high. It's very high for pre-market, but if this was at the market open, this would be way more higher, and the float rotation would be extremely high in comparison. So taking a short position like this on this kind of a play at the market open in the market hours, I don't know if I would do it because of the fact the low float and the high volume would mean that it could turn on you so quickly and spike way above, which is exactly what happened on CREX when you saw that I didn't even have a chance to get out. Didn't even have a chance to take out to get out on my risk because it spiked again so quickly. And even in the pre-market, this can happen, but it lowers the odds because of the fact that it's not as liquid. The bid and the ask is very close together, as we can see. Was just 1 cent a share spread, just gone down. But it was holding 1, 2, 3 cents a share spread up here, so I felt comfortable taking the play. I could have held through all the choppiness, and I could be making something like 80 to 90, maybe even $100 right now, selling right down into the 80 cents area. But what's the point? I took my play, and I'm on to the next one. So this is just for you guys to see that this is the kind of pattern you want to be seeing. Playing 15-minute charts, seeing these huge spikes that come immediately out of nowhere, because when they come up into huge strength like that, the chances are that people are going to be thinking the exact same thing that I am, short in these. And when they take short positions, it drives the price down. What I'm watching now for is people that are short on this taking profits, which will drive the price back up. But again, what I will say is I'll make the same point over and over again, guys. I sell and I buy way too early. I take profits way too early. I play it way too safe. I'd rather take profits time and time again than risk disaster. But look at how much meat was on the bone. We're heading down now to hit the 80 cents. Now I was in at 114. I was in at $1.14 a share. If we're now down to like the 80. It did just hit below. Nope. Did it? Yeah, it went down to 7.8 but got rejected. So this thing is still cracking. Had I held my position, I don't even know how much I'd be up. Maybe, $120, $150 in the space of half an hour, these two 15-minute candles. But I'm happy I sold. I'll take my profits. But just look at how much meat on the bone. Maybe you have more patience. Maybe you manage your risk differently to me. Maybe you don't mind turning the odd profit into the odd loss every now and then in the hopes of a big winner like this. It can happen. It comes down to your personality. And my personality is to play conservatively, take smaller positions when I'm unsure, take my profits nice and quick. Maybe yours is different. I mean, look at this thing. It's still cracking, still cracking. We're down in the 7s now. 7.5. Volume's picking up. Nice volume trade as well. Pre-market, on this candle alone, in the last 15 minutes, we're up at what? We see the volume just up here if you look. 335k traded in 15 minutes on this candle. That's very good for pre-market. Anywhere between 200,000 and 2 million volume traded overall, as we can see, 1.14 million is very, very good in pre-market. But this thing's still cracking. Look at all the meat left on the bone. I think we just hit a low of what, 7.3? Yeah, 7.36. And finally, I'll finish by just putting something out that I've kind of noticed with shorts like this, short positions, where people get to a certain point, see how it started to slow down, volume sort of faded, it's consolidated. And people that were short on this have decided to take profits. In this candle, I would bet my bottom dollar this is where people start taking profits, because see how we have this massive wick on the top of this candle where it had a sudden up spike. Obviously, it's not going to hold its highs up here. So it's gone bam, bam, within a split second, with a fraction of a second, it would have shot right up to this point and shot right back down, because everyone was clearing out. Everyone that was short from up here on this position, it's how all the way through this, decided, well, I want to take profits, and they've had to buy back their position. It's a buy position, so they've had to buy their shares back, and then they've kept the difference between the shares, which has caused the price to obviously skyrocket like this. So I mean, this is a market inefficiency. This is something like a flaw within the market. So in the future, what I may do is, if I take a short position like this, my bread and butter sort of play, is allow it to play out, but have a short position, like have a position pending high up. So for instance, as it's starting to crack, I'd put a short position that obviously won't be executed, because I'd put it at, say, 1.2. So it'd be pending in the background, it'd be sitting there. So what would have happened is, when it came down to here and it shot up, I would have been executed at 1.2, and it would have shot right back down, and I could have sold and took profits. So within this market, see how it's doing it right now? People are taking profits. It shoots up and comes right back down because people can't, it won't hold its highs. So what you could be doing is taking short positions into this, short, and then as it comes back down, you are in on your money. It's because it's such a low float stock that it's doing this. I bet that it's because of the low float that it's doing this. But it's good. It's good that you can see this happening in real time on the computer. And this won't hold its highs. This won't, and it's right back down. So what I'm thinking is, in times when it's doing this, try and get in on the short. Try and short it when it's popping up like that, pop. Because think how much you'd be up on your money if you took a large position into like 118, where it came up to, but it went up to a high of 1.3. It came all the way up here and it's back down to 60 cents a share. You'd have made huge on your money in just that short amount of time. And I guarantee people were also watching and doing the same thing. So this is just something that I'm gonna start watching out for. And it's something I would urge you people to also start watching out for as well. So I'm really, really glad that I got that on camera, on film, on the recording, for you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about. People that were holding the way down here are buying to cover their positions on the short side, causing the spike to go up. And then people have got stop losses on the way up, stop loss, which get taken out, bam, 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 pushes the stop price up, causes a short squeeze. And now look, it's back down. It's not doing anything at all, and it probably won't do anything all the way to the open. But just something to watch out for. Something to watch out for. Very, very interesting. Okay, and finally, all in all, I'm up $97 altogether on this trade from the very start, from all the way to 2 minutes out from the market open. And what I'm going to do is just allow you guys just to see how this plays out into the open, so you can see. Obviously, if my predictions are true, I think it's going to come into a bit of strength, but I think fundamentally it's going to fall because it's so overextended. So we'll just wait and see how it plays out into the open. So there's a little bit of strength at the open here. I think what's happening is you've got short sellers taking profits, which is pushing the price up because they're obviously buying to cover. So they're taking profits, they're cutting losses, etc., etc. Then you've got other short sellers that are coming in and they're selling into it, which is why it's going up and coming right back down. This is why it's so choppy. But as you can see now, we're coming into the main weakness. You see we have volume picking up now. We just crossed 9 million shares traded in the entire day since pre-market open, which is very, very high, especially for a stock that's only got 26 million float. You know, that's a pretty decent high float rotation for such an early on in the day, you know. Do you guys get the idea? You know, you get the idea of how it's going to play out and how it is playing out. Um, and I mean, it'll more than likely follow this trend throughout the whole of the day, you know, as long as it doesn't get a news catalyst that'll drive the price of the stock up. Because you remember all this price action pre-market, this spike and everything like that, it's got no catalyst for it to be up like that. The last SEC filing that we had was on the 23rd. It's now the 29th. There's no news, there's no SEC filing. So for it to be up on its highs like this, there's no reason for it. There's no valid reason for why it should be up, which is why I took a short position, because the odds were in my favor that it was going to come down. Okay, if it was up on its highs based on good news, then obviously you can understand and you could argue that it would hold its highs, but it didn't. Obviously, it came down, created this nice little cup and handle, which is a type of move. If you want to do your research into that, guys, you can do your research. But a nice little cup and handle move here, and here is the handle into the fade. So I would argue it's going to hold this trend all day. Okay, so there's a few things I want you to take from that. Chief among which is, you notice the two main volume spikes that come in, the main moves that come in. Obviously going on UK time is 12 o'clock midday. Is a lot of brokers allow you to then trade pre-market. So before 12 o'clock in the midday, brokers restrict you to be able to trade pre-market. So when that 12 o'clock comes, that's when we had that massive up spike pre-market, because then the volume can come in from the pre-market traders. And then on the open, obviously people that couldn't trade pre-market can now trade the stock. So we had another huge volume spike, which obviously impacted the way that the stock went. So pre-market, we had that huge spike. Then at the market open, we had that nice cup and handle that was evolving, and then we had that huge crack. So that's something to bear in mind, right? So we usually have big volume that comes in at 12 o'clock midday here in the UK when you're trading these stocks for pre-market, and at the open. First 15 minutes at the open, you have huge volume spikes. Tends to be a lot of emotional buying and selling that happens in this time. So be very, very careful how you trade in those hours. Also, I hope that you noticed the valuable lesson that I shared about the stock, how it reacts, how the price reacts when shorts are taking their profits, especially in these low float stocks, right? And how it impacts the price so violently. You saw that it was obviously at a base level and it shot up, shot down, shot up. It's just impossible to get in and out within those times, right? But I was thinking that surely there's a way to take advantage of this, is to maybe even on that massive spike, take a short position at the top. But in my mind, I think it moves way too quick at the bid, and the bid and the ask doesn't even have time to evolve and allow you to take positions in that spike. So it's something that you can play with. But then again, you know, do you want to try and catch a falling knife? Your hands are going to get pretty bloody. You know, you're going to if you go wrong, you're going to lose quite violently. So it's something to consider. It's uncharted territory to try and do that right at this point. So risking my own money might not be the best option. If I was to try and develop a strategy around that, trying to catch the big spikes when they come like that, when the short sellers are trying to take profits into the weakness like that or into the strength, I'd have to paper trade it and try and work out a theory around that. But maybe that's something that I'll develop in the future. Who knows? This seems to be my sort of bread and butter trading setup right now with this coronavirus trades that are stirring up the market so much. The markets are so savage right now with all the volatility from the COVID-19. There's just way too many plays to go out that's going on to keep track of. Just because I'm showing you these trades that I've made, trust me when I say that there's probably 10, 20, or even 30 valid setups that are going on behind the scenes that I'm not even seeing about. Also, when I was showing you the stocks to trade screener when I was going between the windows there, remember that when you join the Discord, if you join the Premium Plus, you will get access to that screener every single trading day that is live streamed through Zoom, and it's exclusively available for the Premium Access members of the Discord groups. That's something for you guys to consider. The link is in the chat if you guys want to go over and check that out. Check out the pricing and obviously check out the benefits. The next play that I'm going to jump into is the CREX profit. I'm a huge believer in trading stocks based on any kind of catalyst to dignify the price action. In throwing blind trades, there's no way to allocate reasoning for it's just gambling when you just throw random money into a stock, and I see it all the time. I'm in a few trading groups, and I see it all the time, and I'm always telling people stop trading these stocks without a catalyst. There was a big one the other day where it was going into the open. There was no catalyst driving the stock. It was up near 52-week highs, and it was consolidating around that time. And people in the group were all taking positions, and I was telling them, don't take positions. There's no catalyst. And everyone was saying, you don't need a catalyst, blah, blah, blah. Literally, 5 minutes before the open, the stock dropped something like $2 a share. Just dropped. And people lost. I wouldn't even like to think how much money they lost. But I bought the bounce, sold, made a dollar on my money. But this is why. This is why you don't do it, see? We want to tick as many boxes as we possibly can when it comes to finding a reason to be in on a trade. Because otherwise we take losses, and losses are painful, right? But losses are sweet because you learn lessons. And the lessons are something that help us to develop to become better traders next time. So take it from me, find a reason to dignify the price action before you blindly chase a strength or weakness just because of a stock is moving and you've got the fear of missing out on a trade, right? It's just, you've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. There are a few reasons for trading a stock other than a news catalyst driving the stock, okay? News drives a stock, and in the pre-market into the open, we need that clarification, with this being the most emotional time for the traders, okay? Sometimes if a 52-week high comes, a stock can just keep driving into new territory because then we have no resistance above that point. So if it hits a 52-week breakout with no SEC, no news, then it can run. The stock can run just because of that 52-week breakout. So there are some exceptions, but they're very small in that respect. Afternoon trades are usually based on reasoning and an analysis of how the rest of the day is panned out. Okay, so if you're trading after the midday lull, then you are trading within that niche of traders that are also trading based off technical analysis and reasoning that have got support and resistance based on how the stock opened and how it's consolidated through the midday lull. Has it held the VWAP? Has it not held the VWAP? So on and so forth, right? A huge factor for this great example is the pattern of the midday lull holding the VWAP. If a stock holds above the VWAP through the midday lull, when the volume usually thins out and the majority of a stock crashes and burns in the market, okay? It's a great indicator of the strength of the stock. I'll play a short video now to show you guys some insight into exactly what I am talking about. Bear in mind that when I spoke in depth about the VWAP in a previous stream on Twitch, you can go check that out to understand what the VWAP is. But here's a short video to explain how you can capitalize on the VWAP through the midday lull and how it works, right? Okay, what's up guys? So I wanted to run you through my trade on CREX. It's been a really slow week in the markets over this whole week, today being Wednesday. All week has just been so slow and so boring. So there hasn't really been much opportunity. We had a really slow start into Monday, and Mondays generally, gives us an idea of how the rest of the week is going to play out for us. Okay, so if we find that on Money Mondays, which is what we call it, we find if Mondays are slow, then the rest of the week sort of follows suit because it gives us that idea. It's like when you're watching your stocks in the pre-market. If you've got a lot of stocks and a lot of activity going on in the pre-market and the markets themselves, the indexes are all up, it gives you an idea and a generalization of how the rest of the day is going to play out, right? Because those stocks dictate the rest of the day. So I kind of come across CREX. It was the only stock really on my screener into the afternoon that's of interest to me because it held above the VWAP. And because it held above the VWAP through the middle of the day, I had an idea that it was going to go up and test the high of day, okay? Because this is a pattern that plays out time and time again. Is when a stock holds the VWAP through the middle of the day, through that midday lull, when all other stocks, if you have a look at some of the stocks on here, you'll see, they don't really hold the midday. They crack down into weakness. This one coming back into strength. But if a stock is holding above the VWAP through the midday, I know that other traders are going to be looking at that as well. And it gives me an idea and gives them an idea of how the stock is going to play out, whether it's going to run up and try and test the high of day, which is exactly what this stock is trying to do. So I got in at 517, and I got out way too early. I took profits way too early, but it just goes to show, guys, that if you're using indicators like VWAP, which I've spoke about before in a previous stream, then you're on the same mindset, the same bandwidth as 90% of traders, okay? Because I know that 90% of traders out there are all looking at the VWAP indicator. So I know that if I'm looking for the same characteristics of a stock that say 90% of traders out there, I know I'm going to be in on a move where everyone else is doing. I'm not going to be the only person in on a move. I'm going to be on a move that's got a lot of attention, a lot of volumes running through it. And as we can see, volume faded into the midday, but it's still held above the VWAP, which is great. It's a great indication for the strength of this stock. So the volume picks up into the afternoon, and we get this nice test of the high of day. So this was the run, this was the move, and as you can see, I've done my technical analysis. I drew my trend line from the low of the day all the way through to where we are playing now, and it held. See, the bottoms of these candles have held the trend line perfectly. We have a slight break here because we're coming into weakness, as you can see, because the move has ended, the move has gone. So if you didn't get on the move now, you'd be getting crushed. So obviously now it's breaking the trends. This is a trend reversal because it's breaking the trend line. So throughout the rest of the day, I'm anticipating a fade, okay? Volume is more likely going to fade now because the move has come and gone. If you look at the screener, the stocks on here, view technical analysis, you can see that it's slow because it's following the trend of the week. It's following how the week has progressed, which is a slow week for the markets. So I'm anticipating an afternoon fade, and a lot of people taking short positions as well, because this stock hasn't had any news, but because it's so far into the day, it's held the VWAP. I got in on the move because it was going up to test the higher day. Ordinarily, if this was a morning play, if I was playing this into the open, I wouldn't touch this stock. In fact, it was on my screener early on in the day, but I didn't touch it because it didn't have any news, okay? Guys, you need to remember that news drives stocks. If a stock is up, you need to have a solid catalyst for why that stock is moving. And this just didn't have it, so I didn't touch it throughout this day. But the only reason I got in on this, and as you can see, it's done a reversal, it's cracked the trend line right now, and we're into a fade, we're into weakness. So the only reason I got in on this was just simply because it had the VWAP and it was coming up to test the high of day. That was the move, and I know that people were looking at it, So I know I had a catalyst for why people were watching this stock, and we can see now that it's breaking. So do your technical analysis, draw your trend lines, paint a picture of the stock, because the stock is just, it's trying to tell you something. Every single play is trying to tell you something. Whether you read into it or not is down to you. So in this case, I used my technical analysis to understand what the stock was trying to tell me, which is the fact it was going up to test that higher day. And remember that this play will repeat itself over and over and over again. High of day holds of the VWAP going up to test the high of day. That is what we're looking for here. Okay, so now we're into the back end of the stream. I've got 2 more video lessons for you guys, and I've saved the best till last. So we're going to go over ACB, which was a cannabis trade that came up last week. I believe it was Thursday, and how I established that it was not a good trade to be in because there was a ton of bag holders. Okay, I'm going to explain what a bag holder is. I'm going to explain how it's relevant to stock price action and how you can assess if a stock has an excessive amount of bag holders as well. And then we're also going to go over SRNE, which was a trade as well. I'm going to talk about the trend lines, the channels and things. This is where you're going to get to understand the technical analysis a lot more. Okay, so I've saved the best 2 lessons for the end. And I hope I haven't gone into too much depth or too much detail for you guys. And I've kept it somewhat simplified, somewhat simplistic, so you guys can understand it. But stock trading is somewhat of a technical thing to try and delve into. There is a big learning curve to it, and there's not really a lot that I can do to try and simplify. There's only so much I can dumb this down to help you guys to process and understand it. Okay. So like I said, I've saved the best lessons till last. So let's dive into ACB. Okay. So here is a super helpful lesson that I wish that I knew earlier, right? Which is understanding bag holders and how they affect stock price action. And why you should understand this definition and never be one. Never be a bag holder, okay? Rule number 1 in penny stocking is cut losses and don't be a goddamn bag holder, okay? I'll tell you that until I am blue in the face. That never be a bag holder. I know someone out there listening to me, they're listening to this lesson, will get stubborn and be part of, and the human emotions will get involved, and they'll be a bag holder, but just don't. Okay. Those trades last week that are, those of you that came into contact with ACB on Thursday, spiking huge pre-market and heading up to a 52-week breakout, right? Fantastic. All exciting stuff, of course, because a 52-week breakout, as I explained to you guys, means that now we're into new and exciting territory for the chart with minimal resistance, because now we're into new territory, new highs, right? So why, when this stock broke that 52-week point, did it get slammed right back down? Because it did. It broke that 52-week in pre-market and immediately got slammed right back down because it couldn't hold back. And the reason being is bag holders. Bag holders were bottlenecking the stock, okay? Bag holders are stubborn traders that did not cut losses when the stock went against them. And now they're holding on to shares that have devalued in the hopes that the stock price will come back into their favor so they can at least break even or take a smaller loss than they're facing. And let me tell you now that hope is not a strategy, guys. Don't be a bag holder. Cut your losses. Don't hold on. A stock that has a huge number of bag holders means that traders are selling into any sign of strength. So people that have their shares, when the stock comes up in price, everyone's just thinking sell because they want to get out of their positions, right? They want to cut their losses. And what that means is when the stock comes up, it just gets slammed right back down because people are selling into that strength. And that's exactly what happened with ACB. It broke that 52-week point, and traders got excited and started buying into this huge wall of bag holders, right? Huge wall of these sellers that crashed the price and brought it right back down. They stopped the stock from running. Imagine them as little leeches that are just sucking the energy from the stock like little vampires, right? I'll play a short video explaining in depth some of the concepts that I've just gone over in a brief sort of introduction, and how you can get some insight into what bag holders are, the stock, and use that to your gain. Okay, so this is a good video, guys. So you take something from this. Okay, so I've got a great lesson to show you guys today, specifically looking at ACB, okay, which is a cannabis stock. Now, if we look at this, we're what? Just under an hour out from the pre-market end and market open. This stock is coming up to a 52-week break, right? It's got a 52-week breakout when it takes out the high of 9.05. Now, in the pre-market, it did try to break the 52-week high, but unfortunately got slammed back down. So if it breaks the 52-week high, that tells us that we're into new territory, because then we have no resistance above this point. Okay, so it's great because now we're into new exciting territory. We don't know how high this stock is going to go. However, this is where doing your due diligence, doing your homework comes into play, and understanding the nuances and how the market moves and what drives the market will come into play, because I am not going to play this stock no matter how high above that 52-week break it goes. Now, reason being is bag holders. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So if we get rid of the stock to trade and we go over to Robin Track, as you can see right here, I'll punch in ACB, which is the stock ticker, and it brings up the stock chart. Okay, that's great, it's fantastic. So what we're looking at here is we've got the chart, right? So we've got the stock price over a certain period of time, and then what the green shows is the bag holders. Okay, now what this means is people that bought into the stock, say they went long around this point or so on, or they went long, they bought into the company, but as you can see, it's continued to downtrend. So what they've done, instead of selling and just cutting their losses, they've held on to those shares in the hope that it will come back and they can break even. So rather than buying the shares, seeing the stock go against them and then cutting their losses, they've held on to those shares, and now they're down hundreds or even thousands, whereas they could have just been down a small amount, a small percentage, if they cut their losses and played by the rules. But instead of doing that, they've let the stock run against them, and they've held their shares. Now, this is a huge divergence here, as we can see. Okay, this is not healthy for the stock, because it means as soon as the stock comes up into any strength, these bag holders want to sell into that strength, and it suppresses the stock price from going any higher, which is kind of what we've seen. If we go back to the chart, right, it tried to break that 52-week high in the pre-market, but it was slammed back down. It was unable to do so because of the bag holders, because people that are just trying to break even, look, it broke the 52-week high. It broke it, but it got slammed right back down. And now we're into weakness, because the bag holders, as soon as they've seen it come into any kind of strength, they want to get out. They want to cut their losses at a better price, or they want to cut even on the price. So this stock, because it has so many bag holders, so many people that are holding on to shares that want to get out somehow, some way, and then as soon as the stock comes up into any strength, all these bag holders, all these people that are holding on to their shares, hoping the stock comes back so they can just get out at a better price and not take a huge loss. So when the stock comes up to try and break that 52-week high, boom, slams back down. And I think it'll happen again and again, because we have this huge divergence in the trend. Now, what we would like to see, is something like this, where the bag holders are holding below the price of the stock, or even following the trend. But when we get this point here where they diverge in the price action and the bag holders action, and we get this huge difference in the price, this is trouble for the stock. This tells me that it has a lot of resistance, and the chances of it breaking that 52-week high and holding that and running is extremely low. It can happen. It can happen. I'm absolutely stressing that it's not a science. Nothing is guaranteed in the market, and it can run. But the chances of it doing so with this amount of people that are holding on to shares is pretty minimal. And because of that, I'm not going to play this. And this is, as I've said to you before, where doing your due diligence, doing your homework, understanding the markets, and having things like Robin Track in the background that can give you this knowledge, because you can never be over prepared in the markets. You just can't be. So that's a lesson for you guys, to use Robin Track to understand who's holding on to the stocks and how that influences the stock and how that influences the price action. Okay, so ACB did actually continue to break the 52-week high when the big volume came in at the open. However, it was sold into heavily by the bag holders who were trying to make a small profit, break even, or just not take as big a hit on the losses, okay? So now we're going to move into the last video lesson of this stream, which is the SRNE trend, the trend lines explanation. I'm going to show you, there's a lot of information again in this one, all right? So I know that the stream's gone on for an hour now, and there's a lot of information to process in this, but the stream is going to be backed up on the platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer for you guys to go back and watch and look back over some of these points, because there's a lot of valuable information in here. So we'll move into the last video lesson, and then we'll call it a day for the stream. So we're going to move into SRNE, which was another 52-week breakout into the midday lull. A 52-week breakout is, as you'll begin to see, a huge pattern that a lot of day traders play into, buying stocks on the breakout into the high. Okay, it's exciting. A lot of traders are looking for this, and it tends to come around earnings season. So 4 times a year, you'll have the earnings seasons for a lot of these stocks. Okay, and earnings season can go on for 6 weeks on all these stocks, and then this way you have all the 52-week breaks, you have big runners and things like that, and you get a lot of volatility in the marketplace. Really, really exciting for long bias traders such as myself. Knowing the majority of other traders are looking for this allows us to be there for the big moves like SRNE, which, unlike ACB, ran huge on the first breakout. So it didn't go into a breakout and then get slammed right down. As soon as it broke that 52-week high, there it just ran, right? Because there wasn't as many bag holders. There were still bag holders, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 bag holders, whereas ACB, there was like 200,000, 500,000, somewhere in that range. Huge amount of bag holders holding on to that stock with varying amount of obviously shares that they want to get rid of. So that bottlenecked the price action. The most important lesson to come from this video tutorial is how I'm using trend lines and channel lines to indicate buy and sell signals, and when to take profits, and allow me to paint a picture on what the stock is trying to tell me. So I'm trying to understand the story of the stock and what it's trying to tell me using these trend lines, these indicators. The technical analysis is extremely complex, okay? In some cases, try to keep it as simple as possible. But as I get better and better, I'm able to read deeper into the complex messages and gather more information and process that and articulate that, adding more lines that work together in conjunction to process more information. I hope it's not too alien for you guys. If so, just watch the lesson a few times, and hopefully every time you watch it, you'll learn something new. Because that's what I do, right? So I'm part of Timothy Sykes' challenge. I'm one of his challenge students. I got all his DVDs, and I find that every time I learn something new, my knowledge expands in the markets. Whenever I go back and watch those DVDs, I take something new from them every time, because I'm able to articulate the information. I'm able to process and understand it in a different way, because I've got a new perspective on how the market functions and works, right? So maybe just watch this a few times and you'll take something new from it every time, right? So here's the video lesson, and then I'll elaborate a little bit more on that afterwards. Okay, SRNE. I went from, well, this brought me back from the brink of death today. As I said to you guys, this week has been mega slow. And it's great to have a trade that was moving like SRNE into the midday, right, holding that VWAP. And again, it's starting to rip. Um, so we had this sudden up spike because it took out the 52-week high. And as I spoke to you before about bag holders, SRNE didn't really have that many bag holders, so it was able to run, unlike ACB, which had the breakout in the pre-market at the 52-week high and it got slammed right back down. This broke out the 52-week high and carried on going, right? So obviously I took a position on this. And the reason why I say it brought me back from the brink of death is because it brought me back from being down on the day, how much was down on the day? $80, I believe. And now I'm only down $12. So it brought me back. Okay, so it's kind of, I'm not in the green. It's still a red day for me, but I'm completely fine. I had a fantastic week last week, so I've still got those gains from last week carrying over to this week. But I mean, this week's been tough. You know, you'll have good weeks and bad weeks and so on and so forth. But let me just walk you through and talk you through some of the technical analysis that's going on right now. So the green channel that you see here signifies the uptrend that we've had all day, following from the day low after the market open. Okay, so this being the low candle, the two low candles here, double bottomed, and then we had the bounce from the double bottom. So I used the bottom of the candle to indicate the trend of the day with the channel. So when we have this uptrend where it broke out the 52-week high, I knew that when it broke out through the top of the chart here, the channel, as soon as it broke out this point, I knew that this resistance would then become the support, which is exactly what happened. Because now, when I was playing into the channel here, I'll be risking it off this support level from the channel. But now it's broke through the resistance. The top line of the resistance channel becomes the support. So now if I take a position into any of this movement, any of this price action, I can be risking it off what was previously the resistance and is now the support. So I can use this as a risk level, as opposed to using the red line as my risk level. So this is an uptrending risk level that goes with the uptrend of the market move. The reason why I have, as you can see, these two lines here in the channel is there's a 30 cents a share difference between the high and the top and the bottom, between the resistance and the support. So I know that if I move this up to where the top of this candle is, I know that if it falls but to the lower level, if it falls below this, I know that's a 30 cents a share difference in the move, okay? Because you know I like to take 30 cents to $1 profit. So I know that if it falls below this line, then I can take a position, risking it off the uptrend and support. And then I know that I've got more than 30 cents movement in this candle, in this stock, before it hits any kind of resistance. And I sold again, you know, I sold way too soon because we had a bit of slowdown. The volume faded ever so slightly, and it makes me nervous that it is midday. We're in the midday lull, but when you look at the stock, it's broke out on the 52-week high. It has mega volume. It's traded 256 million shares on a 105 million float stock. So that's a huge float rotation. So it's rotated its float over 2 times. So yeah, I mean, how much further can this go? You know, how much further can it go? If you're brought down here, you know, you'd be looking at taking your profits. I took my profits around 30 or 40 cents a share, so I'm completely fine with that. I got my profits, I got in and out. I'm not looking to take another position, but I just wanted to show you guys my technical analysis and my idea behind getting in on this stock. So every time it hits new highs, I'm just moving this up, and then I know it's playing into 30 cents a share mark. I know that once it drops below, I can look to take a position because I know it's got 30 cents a share or more movement before it hits the top of this resistance line. And then all I do is keep moving it up, I move my lower horizontal trend line, and I know that I have my uptrending support line as well to go off. So I know if this goes right back down into weakness, I know that I can still be taking positions right back down here, expecting a bounce because I'm playing off this uptrending resistance support. Sorry. So yeah, that's my idea behind this. That's what the trend lines. That's what all these channels work to paint a picture of how the stock's working, what the stock's trying to tell me. And again, this is why it's so important to draw these lines and understand what the stock is trying to tell you, because otherwise you're just throwing shares at a stock without any reasoning. You're throwing money at a stock, and that's how you potentially lose, right? So it's nice that now I'm not in as much of a red day as I was before, a red week, a red day. But yeah, see, it's dropped below my 30 cents a share mark. So I mean, I could be taking position, but I don't like that it's playing into this $9 range, right? It's playing into that whole number position. So I'll be looking to wait for a break anyway on that. But I could have bought. It went down to 8.7, and as you can see, we're coming back into strength. Is it going to test that 9? And the reason why it's coming back down, as you can see, is because people are just selling into the strength, selling into the strength. Now for me, because my support, my horizontal support line is above the channel line support, I'll be risking it off this level as opposed to this level here. Just coming back up to test that 9 position. But yes, this is the idea, guys. You've just got to try and put it in your favor. You've just got to try and paint a picture and stick to the plan. So the big thing I want you to take from this is not the profits. Okay, the profits are not that impressive, or how it brought me from being down on a big red day to a smaller red day, right? Because as I said, the profits aren't that impressive. It's purely the lines, the use of the lines, and how I use the channel lines and the indicators and things like that, and how I came to make a decision on when to buy and when to sell. The reason that this had a big move, I came to learn afterwards. I didn't have my Twitter feed open in the app. I know that the news came out that they have a legitimate cure for the coronavirus, but there was a few tweets that were put out into some big groups on Twitter, which got a lot of attention. That's why we have this midday move, and I was somewhat apprehensive of taking a position into it. So it's quite a low float stock, and to take a position midday is usually something I don't like to do. So I was a bit apprehensive, and I believe that it did top out at 9, as you saw in the video, was the top, and it did crack after that. So I missed the most of that move, and even though I did take some profits, I sold way too early, as I always do. It's something that will come with actual practice, learning these lines and these indicators. And I find whatever works for you, because this is what works for me, right? So you can watch this video that I post, read every single book, watch all the videos that I post on technical analysis, and still never truly understand it fully until you actually put those lines onto a chart and use them to paint a picture for yourself. Until you put them out there for yourself and start to gather information on a stock's message, and use that to understand a buy and a sell signal to make trades, you'll never really be able to understand the nuances of how it works. In doing that, you'll be able to hone your skills and allow you to trade like a sniper, just getting in and getting out and getting the meat of the move, right? Taking that 30 cents a share profit to $1 profit, getting in and out when you want to, right? So to conclude this stream this week, I hope as always you managed to find some kind of value in the lessons here, both in the trades that I have made, the wins, the losses, the bad, the ugly lessons, and all that, right? And the trading attitude and the trading philosophy. And I hope to see everyone that viewed this stream in the Discord server, to connect with myself, learn more and grow the community with like-minded day traders, all wanting to make money and become better at the craft and build a better life for themselves, just as you are watching the stream. So thank you all for tuning in this week, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, and all that good stuff, right? If you found valuable information in this, I'll see everyone in the Discord group. So I'll catch you